Now, most men believe that standing to pee is more masculine. But what if I told you that standing actually might be damaging your prostate and weakening your erections? Now, in Germany, about 40% of men say that they actually sit down to pee. And in the United States, only about 10% do. And German men actually have significantly better urinary and prostate health. Now, is this a coincidence? Well, I'm not quite sure. I'm Dr. Rachel Ross, physician, sexologist, and founder of the DrRachael Institute. And today we're going to talk about something that challenges what many men think it means to be masculine. All right, so sitting down to pee. Now, before you click away, hear me out, because the science behind this is actually really fascinating. It has everything to do with your prostate, your pelvic floor, and your ability to get and keep an erection. And if you're interested in improving erections, prostate health, and men's performance naturally, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Now, before we dive into the science, let me tell you why this topic is really personal for me. See, my father was actually a physician. He understood prostate anatomy. He knew how the gland worked. But like many men, he stood to urinate his entire life. And as his prostate enlarged, urinating became harder and harder for him until ultimately he had no choice but to sit down. He would stand there for minutes waiting for the stream to start. Eventually, he couldn't empty his bladder at all. And watching that happen changed the way I thought about prostate health. Because if he had have known what I'm about to explain to you today, his quality of life might have been really different. That's why I'm sharing this. And this is where things start to connect in a way that most men don't realize. See, a data analytics firm surveyed more than 7,000 men across 13 countries and asked one simple question. Do you sit down to pee? In the United States, about 10% of men always sit. 31% say they never sit. And about 17% say they rarely do. But in Germany, the country with the highest rate of sitting to urinate, about 40% of men sit down each and every time they pee. In fact, sitting to pee is so common in Germany that there's even a word for it. Those men are called Sitzpinklers. It literally means sit peers. And years ago, it was sometimes used as a teasing insult, but things have shifted. And here's something interesting. German men actually have some of the best urinary health outcomes in the developed world. Listen, your prostate doesn't care what culture you grew up in or what country you grew up in. So let's talk about what's actually happening inside your body. Your prostate sits just below the bladder and surrounds the urethra. That's the tube that carries urine and semen out of the body. But the prostate doesn't just sit there. It's actually super important. It plays an important role in both urination and erections. It produces fluid that becomes part of the semen. And it sits in the middle of a network of nerves and blood vessels that actually support erectile function. And in many ways, the prostate acts like a control hub inside the pelvis. Just beneath the prostate is a group of muscles called the pelvic floor. Now think of the pelvic floor like a hammock of muscles supporting the bladder, the prostate, and the rectum. See, these muscles control urination, but they also help trap blood in the penis during an erection. And they actually contract during ejaculation. So when the pelvic floor works properly, urination flows smoothly. Pelvic pressure stays really balanced and erections are stronger. But when those muscles stay tense, problems begin because they can't stretch and contract like they're supposed to. Now, if you're curious about how your circulation may be affecting your sexual performance, I created a free tool that calculates your erection age, and you can find the link below. Now, the real reason all of this matters has nothing to do with really how you pee, and it has everything to do with your erections and your prostate. I see this all the time in my practice. Men with something called high-tone pelvic floor. It basically means that the pelvic floor muscles stay chronically tight and it interferes with their erections. See, some men carry stress in their jaws. They clench them tight. Other men hold stress in their pelvis. That means the pelvic floor muscles stay chronically tight. They clench these muscles without even realizing it, and standing up to pee amplifies this. See, when it happens, this is when symptoms actually begin to appear. It's difficulty starting to urinate, pelvic discomfort, frequent urination, rushing to the bathroom, weaker erections, pain with ejaculations, because the same muscles that actually control urination actually support your erection. So I have a quick question for you. Now, do you ever feel like you don't fully empty your bladder? Listen, we share on this channel, so comment yes or no below, because this will actually help. Now, here's something that you may not realize, that the muscles involved in urination are the exact same muscles involved in the erection. So if your pelvic floor stays tense and can't contract, and it's just locked up while you're standing to pee, you're reinforcing tension in the same muscles that you need to be able to expand and contract that help you get and maintain an erection. In other words, the way you pee may actually be training your pelvic floor in the wrong direction. And this is where things get really interesting. Now let's talk about prostate enlargement. After the age of 50, about half of men develop BPH, benign prostatic hypertrophy. By 80, about 80% of men experience BPH. As the prostate enlarges, it narrows the urethra, the pee tube. It's like trying to drink through a coffee stirrer instead of a normal straw. The stream weakens because the prostate has grown, urination slows, you strain, and when that happens, another problem develops: retained urine. Instead of emptying completely, small amounts of urine stay behind in the bladder. Now that leftover urine increases pressure inside the bladder. And over time, that pressure irritates the bladder and the nerves around the prostate. That's when men start noticing that rushing to the bathroom, that feeling like they urinated, but not all of it came out. Waking up at night to urinate multiple times, and that pelvic pressure doesn't just impact urination. It affects your erections too. So here's what researchers discovered when they actually studied this. Men who sat down to pee had higher urine flow rate. They had higher voided volume, meaning more came out when they peed. They had lower post-void residual, which means less stayed in there after they urinated, meaning they emptied their bladder more completely. And that matters because less retained urine means less pressure. Less pressure means healthier nerves and better circulation supports stronger erections. And if you're curious how your circulation is supported, you can calculate your erection age using the free tool below or right here on this QR code. It's something that I created for men that's revolutionizing lives. Now, I know some of you are thinking, real men stand up, Dr. Rachel. But listen, your prostate doesn't care about your ego. And interestingly, when the researchers asked men why they refused to sit down, do you know what the number one answer was? It's not comfort, it's pride. But the real question is this: do you want to protect your pride or do you want to protect your erections? So this isn't about how you pee, it's about how your pelvic system functions. You don't have to sit every time, but it helps in 4 distinct situations. First, it helps at night. You empty your bladder more completely so that you can rest through the night. Second, when you're having symptoms like your weak stream, you're dribbling, you're having difficulty starting, sitting will help. Third, when you're doing prostate care techniques like double voiding, which we've talked about, sitting helps. And then the fourth one is sitting helps right before you're about to have sex. Because if you sit and urinate, you're getting that last drop out and you'll last longer. Try it. That's a bonus tip. See, most men overestimate their aim. And when their stream gets weaker, sitting absolutely solves that problem instantly. And when men begin sitting regularly, several things often improve. Urination becomes easier. The bladder empties more completely. Pelvic pressure decreases, and when pressure decreases, blood flow and nerve signaling improve. Now, sitting alone won't cure erectile dysfunction, but if pelvic tension and retained urine are part of the problem, and you know you have an enlarged prostate, it can absolutely help. And if you're curious how your erections and your prostate health are aging, you can calculate your erection age using the link below. And here's the takeaway. In countries like Germany, more men sit to pee. And those men tend to have better urinary outcomes. And why is that? Because sitting relaxes the pelvic floor. And when the pelvic floor relaxes, flow improves. Pressure on the prostate decreases and blood flow in the pelvis actually increases. And all of this supports erectile function. Now, if you want to improve your prostate health and your erections, calculate your erection age right now using this QR code and watch this next video because it shows you exactly how to fix it. I'm Dr. Rachel Ross. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Boom, I'm out.